Hey guys, welcome back to another video. I wanted to talk about the recent news that I just heard. It may not be recent to you guys, so it's okay. This is me just giving my take and my opinion on things that come to me on my time schedule and on my timetable. I keep hearing this push by Coach Prime for the coach for the Colorado Buffaloes that he's very he's very adamant about his position in regards to how his student athletes approach their academics. So he's big on his athletes making sure that they prioritize their academics. Well, I didn't play college ball. I know I played in high school, which is much different than college. You have to understand, and any of you guys who played college ball, be it Division I, Division II, doesn't matter, JUCO, there's in theory, okay, we call these athletes student athletes, okay? But I think that there needs to be a deeper dive needs to be taken into the myriad of concepts or the myriad of details that comes in part of being a student athlete. Okay? Now, what Coach Prime is talking about, to me, I'm being objective here, this is not me being a hater. I believe all of that, when I say all of that, the rhetoric about he's big on kids taking their academics seriously, I think that's part of his brand building. And you say, whoa, hold on. He's a good coach. He wants his kids to focus on their academics too, because, not all the players are going to go to the NFL, so they need to focus on their academics. Okay? I'm going to have a response for that, because I know people are going to say things like that. Like, how is that branding? He's being genuine. He wants his players to take their academics seriously. He's not being genuine. He's being disingenuous, but using that rhetoric as a symbol or as a position placer to allow people, or the gullible, to believe that he's a coach that really cares about his students' academics. Now, I want to break down the different type of athletes that you have in a Division I level, okay? Because not everyone should take their academics seriously, and not everyone can take their academics seriously. In academics and in the athletic realm, when you merge those two together, you're going to conceive various types of athletes in regards to their mindsets. Various types. Because it's conceived out of two things merging together. We understand when a woman and a man get together, they produce children. And all the children don't have the same personalities. One child may have the personality of the father. One child may have the personality of the mother. Another child may have the mixture of both mom and dad. And another one may have a personality of an uncle or a grandparent or a great uncle. Genetics, DNA, it's a complex subject. It's divine in essence, which makes it very complex. But in a way, in a much diluted format, when you're talking about the amalgamation or the combination of taking a student that comes to a university to receive a degree, but then you also have the athletic part where a student is immersed in that realm, putting forth all of their efforts to get to the highest level. And when you combine those two, you're going to produce various types of mindsets, hence various types of athletes, hence the example I just gave, various types of children that are being conceived from the combination of two parents, two adults joining together to be one. So when you join the athletic realm and the academic realm and you push them together, you're going to produce various types of athletes. So you cannot make a general blanketed statement that applies to all of your athletes, saying that if they don't take their academics seriously, that you're going to XYZ. You're going to have a penalty for their decision. There's going to be a consequence that comes because of their decision to engage in their academics and take it 100% serious, or to disengage from their academics and not do their best or put forth their optimal effort, or they're putting forth the bare minimum effort. Okay? Now, there are various types of athletes that come out of that combination. Okay? You have the athlete that's already smart. The athlete that doesn't really need to apply themselves in school. This is the GT brain athlete. There are very few of these. This is the outlier. You rarely get these kind of athletes, but they do exist. These are the athletes that don't really need to go to class. And if they do go to class, they're just going there for the attendance purposes, just to make sure that they get the credit for being there. They don't need to read the lectures. They can do their own studying on their own. All they need is the syllabus and a little bit of a general explanation of what is required, and they can fulfill the requirements without the instruction of the professor. They're very great communicators. They can network with other classmates and get what they need, and voila, they get the job done. You have that kind of athlete. If you apply that Coach Prime stipulation to that kind of athlete, that athlete would do well on the academic end. Now, let's talk about the same athlete that has the GT brain, the smart brain, that doesn't really need to go to class every day. He doesn't need tutorials because he gets it. All right, he's a fast learner. Actuality, this is the athlete that could have been skipped a couple of grades when he was in school, but because he was an athlete, they allowed him to just progress through the levels as everybody else. Okay, now let's take that same athlete, and then let's talk about their athletic prowess or lack thereof. Now, this is a smart athlete, the smart student with the GT brain. He's also a great athlete. That rule, that stipulation that Coach Prime is putting forth about having his student athletes take their academics seriously, that would apply to that athlete. But the reason why it would apply to that athlete is because he naturally already has the brains. Not everybody can grasp concepts that quickly. Everyone's minds don't operate the same way. Just like you have different children with different personalities, you have different human beings with different strengths, different weaknesses as well. Okay? So that athlete that Coach Prime is pushing for is an athlete that's the exception to the norm, or the exception to the rule. The superior intelligent athlete that's also superior athletically. LeBron James is like that. He has a photographic memory. There's a scientific term for that. He's very smart. All right? That's one of one. You're really going to get that kind of athlete. That's superior on the athletic realm, in the athletic realm, but also very, very superior academically without the effort. It comes naturally. They don't need to go to class. And also, athletically, they don't need to put forth the effort. The athlete that would be superior and supreme would be a Travis Hunter. It comes to him easy. I'm not saying he doesn't work hard at his craft, but I'm saying that he's gifted with certain traits, genetically gifted. All he needs to do is hone his skills and perfect it. He doesn't have to work hard to get to where he is. He already came out as a star. Now, I don't know how Travis Hunter is academically, but if he is very smart academically, then he is the outlier. So that expectation for Prime would go well for a Travis Hunter. Now, that's one kind of athlete. So, number one, athlete that I just talked about is the superior academic athlete and a superior athletic athlete who has the athletic gifts. You rarely have that. It's rare to have both of those combinations. That's the only way it'll work with what Coach Prime is pushing for, because the demands of college sports is in and of itself is a job. And then to expect those kids to work hard 100% in practice, 2-a-days, or whatever the drills that they're doing, whatever commitments they're making in terms of their athletic commitments, you're expecting them to also put forth that same energy and effort into their academics. That's impossible. But now it's possible for an athlete that I just talked about, the example I just gave. I'm still on example one. The athlete that has the superior academic acumen, intellectual acumen, that athlete, and also the prowess as an athletic football player that has the talent genetically, just gifted and better than other people. All that athlete needs to do is just hone their skills and craft it to perfect it, but they're already there. That's athlete mindset number one. Then number two, you have the athlete that has to work very, very hard to perfect their physical skills. They're in the gym, they're lifting extra weights, they're being disciplined like Coach Prime tells them to be. They're watching video, they're watching film. They're devoting hours and time to their craft. They haven't even started their academics yet. Now, that athlete is tired and they're worn out. Now they have to wake up in the morning and go to class. They're tired. The classroom is probably cold, AC blowing. This athlete stayed up late watching video, watching film tape because the athlete wants to be all he can be. This athlete aspires to be in the NFL. Or maybe he doesn't aspire to be in the NFL, but he wants to put forth his best effort and let the chips fall where they may. He works hard. If he goes to the NFL, he goes. If he doesn't, it's fine. But he's going to give it his all because he's an athlete. He's a buff. He's a Colorado Buffalo, and he wants to play well, not only for Coach Prime, but for himself and for his family. So he watches the tape. He puts forth the energy and the effort, and he's cramming those plays in his brain. He's understanding the different schemes that the offense is going to throw at him if he's a defensive player. And if he's a offensive player, he's studying the schemes of the defense and seeing ways he can counteract what the defense has planned for him. So now he wakes up the next morning, it's time for class. And he's like, oh my God, I'm tired. This is not the intellectual savvy kid like the first example. I'm not saying that this athlete is dumb either, because you don't get that far by being dumb. Now, some athletes do. We know some of the athletes who were spoon-fed, who don't know how to read or write. They were just passed because they were athletically gifted. A lot of them don't even know how to write their names or spell. And this is not hyperbolic language here. I'm being dead serious. There's some athletes out there that are gifted physically, but in terms of their academics, they are zero. They didn't learn anything in school. Literally, they were just passed on because they were just superiorly gifted as an athlete. But for this example, this athlete is not there. He's not that. He's not like doesn't know anything. It's just that his classes are challenging for him. He does have to apply a little bit more effort. And he's tired. He's tired because he's extending himself too thin. He's putting forth everything into the football, and he has nothing left. But now you're expecting him to put everything into his academics. It's impossible. You can't serve two masters. You cannot. You have to be devoted to one, and one has to take a back seat. So you have to prioritize as an athlete. It depends on what kind of mindset you have and what your gifts are dictating. Are your gifts dictating to you that you're so athletically great that you have a great chance of going to the NFL? Or are your gifts kind of mid-average, where your academics are going to be important in order for you to gain some type of, great living after your college career is over? I mean, those are things you have to factor in. So this athlete is struggling. So he goes to a meeting and he hears Coach Prime saying, yo, if you don't go to class and do this and do this and do this, I'm going to, punish you. You're going to run gassers, or you may not play, or whatever the penalty is. Okay. And I'm assuming that the penalty is supposed to be a deterrent for students to not take their, to not take their academics seriously. It's supposed to deter them to not take their academics seriously. It's supposed to make them take their academics seriously. So Coach Prime puts forth a punishment or consequence, right? So this athlete is scratching his head. He's like, damn, oh my God, okay, what am I gonna do? I'm tired. The concepts of my classes, I'm not really getting it, but I really need to go to class to understand it. I wanna do well. I don't want to make bad grades, but I'm tired. So that athlete is now put underneath an insurmountable amount of stress that he can't overcome himself. So that athlete, that for example number 2, is left with a couple of options. He can cheat, get somebody to do the work for him, or seriously try to accomplish the impossible demand from his coach to give all of your all in both components of your college career. As an athlete, give it your all. In your academics, give it your all. You see, athletics and academics, both concepts drain one another. They're not intertwined. And I'm going to explain what I mean by that. Now, when you're an athlete, there's a physical exertion causes fatigue, right? But don't miss out on the fact that being an athlete also comes with a high demand of mental exertion, mental admission. It could be mentally draining because you're just not out there running and jumping and tackling. You also have to think. You also have to remember plays. You have to remember your position. You have to remember things. So there's a degree of academics when it comes to playing football. It's not reading and writing and spelling and doing all that stuff, but you do have to read offenses. You have to read defenses. So they're there's similar concepts that go into play when you're talking about athletic dominance. You can be athletically gifted, but you still also have to be mentally savvy to a certain degree in order to be in the right positions, in order to know what techniques to be in, so on and so forth. So you have a person, Coach Prime, an athlete, and you're telling them to exert themselves in football, which is going to require their whole mental focus, but it's also going to require their whole physical focus. So you're taking two components of a being. You're taking the physical aspect and the mental aspect, and you're telling them to exert 100% into football. And after football practice, when they have class the next day, or maybe they have class after football practice, who knows? Because these athletes, their schedules has to revolve around their athletic schedules, and you're expecting the same athletes that just totally exerted themselves on the football field, in the weight room, in the film room, in meetings. You're expecting these same athletes to take that same energy into the academic realm? That's impossible, Coach Prime. Don't do that. I know it sounds good. For a lot of you guys that are blind Coach Prime supporters, I'm not a blind one. I'm an objective one. When I see something good, I'm going to say it. If I do not see something that I don't agree with, I'm going to also say that as well. I'm not going to try to find ways to make everything that he does positive, because there's certain things that are not positive to me. That's why I have my own individual mind. I'm not moved emotionally and left to only bend my thoughts and my sentiments towards only the positive end and not look at things totally objectively. I'm not going to do that. So that's an impossible gesture or an impossible demand to make on any student. So you say, exert that same energy in football and put it in your classroom. The kid cannot. Maybe the first week they can because they're hyped. You've gave them a great motivational speech. But as the weeks go on, week after week, week after week, and as the academics demand increase, so do the athletic demands as well, because now the season is getting closer. Football games are starting to be more important. Practices are becoming more intense. Classroom objectives are becoming more intense. The subject matter and the task and the objectives are starting to be more in-depth. There's a higher demand of your academic professors. There's a higher demand from your coaches as well. So these kids are being pulled in two different directions. And each direction, it requires them to exert energy into what they're into. Football, physical and mental. In a classroom, more mental than physical. The only physical part of a classroom is that you have to actually wake up and get your ass to the classroom. But it's also a physical component because you have to fight staying awake. You're sleepy, you're tired. You're tired. You finally get to sit down. You don't see NFL athletes going to class because playing football is a job. You practice, you play games. You practice, you play games. Guess what these college athletes are doing? They're practicing, they're playing games. They're practicing, they're playing games. And they have to go to class. So, Coach Prime, that's an unrealistic ask of your team. I'm not telling you to go tell your team to not take their classes seriously, but don't penalize the kids who are not going to class. There's a reason why they're not going to class, Coach Prime. They're tired. They're tired. You can't, I mean, you may say, well, I did it, but it's not, everyone's not the same. That's why I'm breaking down the different type of athlete. Now, number one, the first type of athlete is an athlete that's superior in intellect, that's also superior athletically. That's example number one. Example number two is an athlete that's, he's mediocre athletically. I mean, he's not a 5-star. He wasn't a 4-star. Maybe he was a 3-star. And he really wants to work on his craft. He has dreams and aspirations of making it to the next level. And so he's going to take his craft very, very seriously. He's going to take film study very seriously. He's going to take weightlifting very seriously. He's going to take everything that Coach Prime does. He's going to take it very seriously. And do some more. And do some more work on his free time because he's dedicated. He's disciplined. Okay? He wants it bad. He wants to take his mom out the hood, as Coach Prime might allude to. But then also, he believes in hard work. And he wants to put in the hard work academically, but he's drained from the football part. But he also knows that the academic part doesn't come easy to him. Even when he was in high school, he had to work hard to get those grades. He had to work hard for his 3-point-something GPA. He wasn't the top of his class, but he wasn't at the bottom of his class either. He's a mid kind of guy. He's the kind of guy that actually needs the extra help and needs the tutorials, that needs the extra attention. Okay? So that's the second kind of example of the athlete. The athlete that's in the mid in terms of athletic ability. He's also mid academically. Doesn't mean he's dumb. It just means he's just normal. He just needs to go to class to learn what's going on, like most people in the world. Okay? That's the second type of athlete. Now the third type of athlete is the athlete that's just, he is just a beast on the football field. He's a superior athlete on the football field, but doesn't know anything academically. He's as dumb as a bag of rocks. And I say that, I don't say that in an insulting way. I'm just being very serious. There's some athletes they're dumb jocks. There's a reason why there's a term called dumb jocks. It's because there are some guys out there that don't know anything, but it's not a fault of their own. It's the system that failed them. Their academic skills has allowed them to just, slide through the cracks, and people not, holding that student accountable, and no one taking the time to actually teach and make sure that student actually learns. People are just using that athlete for their athletic gifts to pat their pockets, or to make a name for a certain high school, or to make a name for a certain university. So this is the athlete that's just superiorly athletically gifted. Academically, not so well. So this athlete goes into a meeting and he hears his coach saying, if you don't go to class, you don't do this, do this, do this. Well, this athlete already knows that, okay, I really don't know much, but I will go to class. But I give my all on the football field because I'm really good at that. But how can I give my all in the classroom when I don't understand any of this? Maybe I could apply myself more, but I'm not going to get it anyway. Because, all throughout my high school years, I had people do my work for me. Teachers just pretty much passed me. Since I'm so good, I'm going to talk to the professor and see, where my standing is in this class. And if he's not one of those professors that's going to let me slide and just pass me, maybe I'll get a girl or get somebody to tutor me. So these guys become experts in the social stratosphere, experts in how to navigate the realm of difficulty, because now they're understanding that there are certain skills I don't have, and my coach is making a demand that I cannot fulfill. I'm going to go to class, but I have to produce a grade to show that I know what the hell I'm doing in that classroom. It's one thing to actually show your face and show up in the classroom, and it's another thing to actually produce, results that show that you know what the hell you're doing. So in that case, his athlete is, he's like, well, I got to figure out a way. Again, unwanted pressure on these students. It's impossible to put forth 100% into both components. It's just not going to work, because football in itself is a full-time job. and you're asking those athletes to apply themselves academically. So now this athlete doesn't know much anyway, and he's already tired from putting his all into practice. It's easy to do the practice thing for him because all throughout his life, he's always been athletically gifted. Being an athlete is what he does. He came out the womb genetically gifted as an athlete. Working out, running, that's what he does. He eats, sleeps, breathes football. And when he's done with football, he's done for the day. Now you're expecting me to give forth 100%. The same effort I gave on the football field and in the football areas, you're expecting me to also apply that to my academics when I'm already a student who struggles academically. I only made it this far because of football. So this athlete is going to just get wiser and smart and try to find a way to just cheat the system. So when I hear a coach like Coach Prime saying those things, it's really unrealistic. And if most of the students come out of this with great grades and stuff like that, don't for 1 second think that professors don't give out grades. College education is a joke. I didn't learn much in college. The only thing I learned about in college was to be disciplined and to endure unto the end. It just taught me discipline. That's all it did. Most of the things that I've learned on my own. College didn't teach me anything. Excuse me, I was about to curse it. It didn't teach me anything. Okay? So these students are going to learn how to navigate the arena of social engineering. They're going to understand how to who can be a person they can get close to help them, because they're Colorado Buffalo athletes. Especially if they're winning, they're popular. You think those professors are going to fail students with Coach Prime there? That's not going to happen. That's a complete paradox. That's a conundrum. That is not going to happen. Not when Coach Prime is there raking in all the revenue, especially if it has a superior athletically gifted student on the team that doesn't know anything, dumb as a bag of rocks. That professor is not failing that student. And if you do have a professor that's so strict, Coach Prime, they're going to make sure that kid passes. So it sounds good for the cameras, and it sounds good to put on social media, and it sounds good to write articles about what Coach Prime has won for his student athletes. It sounds good in theory, but in practice, it's not a reality. It's just not. It's just not. Most student athletes usually have to give to one thing. You can't put both in the forefront. And those that are able to put both components in the forefront and do well is because they're just gifted in both ways. They're gifted academically and they're gifted physically. And those kind of people are rare. So now you have the fourth type that I'm going to talk about. This is the athlete that knows they're not going to the NFL. They're not that great on the football field. They're good, but they're not bad, but they're just on the team. This would be like a backup, a person that comes off the bench or as a reserve. They don't start, but they're on the team. They're a good character kind of guy. This is the kind of person that you can see being some type of assistant coach one day, or being a position coach one day, be it in college or in the NFL. This person is they just do the bare minimum because they know their limitations. They did get a scholarship, from high school. They were good enough in high school to get a scholarship, but as they got to college, they understood that their athletic level of excellence is not as great as others. So they've come to the realization that they're just going to play their 4 years out, but they're going to use their academics as a means to excel in life, in terms of finding a good career that's going to put food on the table. So this athlete hears Coach Prime saying, yeah, rah, academically. Now, this student could understand where Coach Prime is coming from, because he's not giving 100% in football. There are many guys that don't give 100%. You say, how do you know? Well, you just do the bare minimum. You do what they ask you to do. You don't do anything extra. You don't do anything extra. Because you're not going to make it to the NFL. You're what they athletically, you're meh. You're not bad, but you're okay. Okay? Which is most athletes. So this athlete says, okay, well, I am going to give 110% of my academics. I'm going to do what coach says. This athlete will be okay because they're not putting forth extra time into the football. They're not adding, their entire being and their entire essence isn't 24/7 football. It's just football is a job that I do. But my real job is academics, because I know what I'm going to be. I'm going to be an engineer. I'm going to be, maybe I'm going to go into then go into the neurosciences, maybe I'm going to go into the medical field, whatever it is. This athlete already has a plan academically. They're not putting forth all their eggs in the athletic basket. So this message will resonate with this type of mindset and this type of athlete. So I've given you several examples, right? So Coach Prime's message only resonates with 2 out of the 4. So it's actually a disingenuous message because it's not a message that can be realistically met. It's not a goal that can actually be conquered. The 2 that it resonates with, actually, only 1. Because I can't even say it resonates with the last example, because the last example is not giving it 100% into the football, because they know, like, if I go all out with the football thing, there's no way that I can actually apply myself academically to get to where I want to be in the future. So the only type of athlete that Coach Prime really wants is an athlete that's like a Travis Hunter physically, but then also is like a genius athlete, which is rare to find. That's what Coach Prime wants. And those kind of players don't fall off trees. They are very, very rare. Even when Coach Bill Belichick, he talked about when he goes into the draft, he tries to get smart players. Yeah, smart players that understand football smart players. These players, it's not about going to class and applying yourself academically. That's a whole nother realm of energy siphoning. I mean, it siphons your energy. Why do you think some people come home? They don't have to lift anything heavy. Sometimes you can be mentally exhausted. You can just be like, I'm just tired mentally. This is draining mentally. It drains you. So what Coach Prime wants is a super smart athlete that's not only smart on the football field, physically gifted on the football field, but also academically gifted in the classroom. I say gifted, academically gifted, because some people are just born with a brain that's through genetics. It's just a gift. They just get it. You were in school. You had those kids that just some things just came easier to them. While you were struggling, flipping through the book, trying to figure out this and figure out that, it took you 15 minutes to get something done. They're done in 5 minutes. Some people are they're just more advanced than other people. That's just the way it is. Okay? So that message doesn't resonate with me about Coach Prime, saying athletes have to do this and taking class seriously. No. Athletes are going to take seriously what they need to take seriously based upon their mindset and based upon their skill set and based upon their disposition. If they know that they're academically gifted, then they can apply themselves academically without exerting 110%, because they don't have to try. When something comes easy to somebody, they don't have to try hard. That's why it's a gift. Okay? Some people need to work hard at something. Like, some people were just born with the ability to jump higher than other people. And the person who can't jump as high probably needs to work on, their ability to jump higher. While the person who already can jump high doesn't need to do a damn thing. They came out the womb jumping. All right? They just came out dunking. An infant dunking on a 10-foot rim. They were born that way. That's just genetics. You can't do anything about that. So that message only applies to 1 of the 4 examples that I just gave. Okay? That message is disingenuous. It's not even 100%. It's not a message that can be 100% received by everybody. It's a message that only has 25% of truth in it. Out of the 4 examples I just gave, only one kind of athlete will that message resonate with. And the rest is going to just go over their head. Or you're adding extra stress on your players, which doesn't bode well for them on the football field. Which is why sometimes they miss assignments, because you can't overwhelm the brain. You can't overwhelm the engine. You can't overwhelm anything. The body and the brain can only take so much. If you guys are gullible enough to think that every student athlete for these Division I programs are literally going to class and learning every day, you're an idiot. When they talk about how this player has a 3.8 GPA and is going to be a neuro, yeah, some guys do have that GPA and they have done the work because it's easy to them. It comes easy. These are the guys that already had it in high school. They already had the super advanced GT brain. They don't need to work hard in the classroom. Not all players are gifted in that aspect. Okay? So, Prime, don't add extra stress to your student athletes. Just let them just do the best that they can. Don't penalize them for not going to class. Of course, I mean, go to class, but don't penalize them, because you can't expect them to exert themselves academically the way they exert themselves physically and mentally on a football field. It's just not possible. It's just not possible. All right, that's my take, guys. Tell me what you think. I mean, you guys know how it works. I remember when I was in college, the basketball players wouldn't even come to class. They'll just kind of like put their face in, let the professor know that they're there, and they just walk out. They go and they pass. I'm in there doing my assignments. I'm like, oh, they don't get to do it, or they get to turn in their stuff late. Some of them don't even turn in their papers. Some of these guys had girls writing their papers for them. You know, so I mean, college is a survival of the fittest. And I mean that literally. Survival of the fittest athlete and survival of the fittest minds. And if you're savvy enough to get help and you are socially adept, you know, to the nuances of human psychology, and you can navigate that realm and find people who are gullible enough to help you, you can get things done without getting things done. You don't have to go to class. So it sounds good for Coach Prime to say that, but in reality, that's not how the realm of being a student athlete works. It doesn't work that way. It doesn't work that way. All right, thank you guys for listening. Leave a comment. Let me know what you think, and I'll be back with another video. Thank you guys. All right, I'm out.